At 6:17 Saturday morning, a wet chef's coat swings off the jammed conveyor and slaps Maren Holt across the face. The coat leaves a warm stripe of wash water on her cheek. Above her, amber lights flash along 12 sorting lanes, while bundled uniforms heap onto the concrete. The plant smells of detergent, hot metal, and something electrical burning behind a wall. Graham Voss steps around the pile without dirtying his shoes. He presses a laptop against Maren's ribs. "You're running the rescue." She looks at the dashboard. "Every lane is red. I told you this would happen if we energized the whole system." "Then you know how to fix it." "Who approved weekend hours?" "No one." His voice carries over the alarm. "You'll work unpaid. It's your mess." The operators close enough to hear become intensely interested in the floor. Graham reaches past Maren, wipes her name from the commissioning board with his thumb, and writes his own, above Monday, go live. She watches him, cap the marker. The last time someone removed her name from work she had built, she packed one suitcase and left a 12-year relationship. Graham knows that. So why does he look almost relieved when she says, "Give me the laptop"? Another coat drops. Maren catches it before it hits the floor. "Kill the feed," she calls. Rosa Delgado, the plant's second shift supervisor, slaps the red stop button. The wash tunnel keeps rumbling beyond the partition, a building-sized stomach that cannot be told the rest of the body has failed. Steam gathers under the fluorescent lights. Graham checks his watch. Navy suit, pale blue shirt, no tie yet. He has the polished, slightly unfinished look of a man dressing in pieces between emergencies. "I need clean lanes by Monday at 5, he says. "Hospital routes first, restaurant second. Don't overcomplicate it." "Where's Ian?" "On the Fairmont install." "You moved my controls technician yesterday?" "Fairmont threatened to delay payment. And this client won't? This client likes me." Rosa makes a sound halfway between a cough and a laugh. Graham turns. "Something to add?" "Just detergent in my throat." Maren crouches beside the nearest antenna cabinet. The access panel is already open. Inside, gray signal cables lie against the high-voltage conduit, bundled together with black plastic ties. Her specification called for shielded blue cable on a separate tray. She looks up. "This isn't the cable I ordered?" "It passed bench testing. So does a paper umbrella." That sentence is why clients don't put you on the front of brochures, and this cable is why their uniforms are on the floor. For a moment, his face changes. Not embarrassment, calculation. Graham is good in a crisis because he can abandon one version of reality faster than most people can recognize it has failed. He lowers his voice. "Maren, the merger team is looking at our quarter. If this rollout slips, they don't see nuance. They see a regional company that can't scale. Did you approve the substitution?" "I approved getting the work done. That isn't an answer." "It's Saturday morning. Answers are a Monday product." He pats the laptop. "Solutions are due now." His phone lights up with the name Caroline Bex, the client's chief operating officer. He silences it. "You're not calling her back?" "I will when we have something worth telling her." He starts toward the loading dock. "Graham." He stops. "Put the unpaid order in writing." The operators look up now. His smile arrives smoothly, which means she has surprised him. "You're salaried." "My offer letter says scheduled implementation travel, not emergency installation labor. Put your instruction in writing. You want to debate HR policy while 3 hospitals are waiting for sterile uniforms? Those uniforms aren't sterile. They're clean. Different service, different plant, different regulations. You sold this system. You should know that. Rosa studies the ceiling. Graham's jaw tightens. Then he gives Maren the warmer smile, the one client's mistake for intimacy. "Get them live. We'll sort out compensation afterward." He walks away before she can make him say it twice. At the dock, he pauses beside the commissioning board and takes a photograph with his phone. His name at the top, her project underneath. By the time his car leaves the lot, the alarm has changed from a pulsing beep to one continuous tone. "Can I murder that sound?" Rosa asks. "Breaker 17, with pleasure." Silence drops over the sorting floor, leaving only the distant churn of washers and the hiss of steam. 23 operators stand beside carts filled with uniforms that now have nowhere to go. Maren wipes her cheek with the wet sleeve that struck her. A stitched patch over the pocket reads, "Vincenzo's." Though Vincenzo's restaurant closed 6 months ago, North Star was always better at acquiring accounts than removing old inventory. Rosa nods toward the retreating taillights. Awards breakfast. Dinner in Milwaukee. At 6 in the morning? He likes a head start on being admired. That earns a few smiles. Not many. Monday's routes are not an abstract deadline to the people on the floor. If the system stays down, they will sort by hand through the weekend, reading account tags one shirt at a time. Maren opens her canvas tool pouch. Screwdriver, meter, flashlight, label tape, folding ruler. The short red grease pencil rests in a stitched pocket by itself. Her father used to sharpen it with a utility knife, turning it as carefully as if he were peeling an apple. She still does the same, though the paper wrapping now bears her own teeth marks from nights spent commissioning equipment. She pulls the laminated test sheet off the side of the cabinet and circles Reader A-1-4 in red. "First rule," she says, "nothing goes back online until we know why it went down." Rosa points at the mountain of wet coats. "Second rule, find coffee strong enough to negotiate with the first rule." Eli Navarro arrives 20 minutes later carrying a stainless steel travel mug and wearing the same work clothes Maren saw him in Friday afternoon. His silver hair is flattened on one side, and a clean strip across his forehead shows where his hard hat sat before he took it off. He surveys the floor. "I leave for 4 hours," he says, "and your machine starts rejecting soup. Chef coats, soup adjacent. Tell me you brought your controls crew." "I brought Dave and Priya." Louise stopped answering after I used the phrase emergency weekend. Smartest man on payroll. Eli sets down a black accordion folder. His company's field tickets are stacked inside. White originals, yellow contractor copies, pink customer copies. Old-fashioned carbonless paper in a plant supposedly being transformed by cloud software. Maren points into the cabinet. "Who authorized that cable?" Eli takes one look and exhales through his nose. "You asking professionally or spiritually?" "Both." Professionally, Graham sent a revised purchase order Tuesday night. Spiritually, I'm trying to forgive him. "Did you tell him it couldn't run beside power?" "In writing. He said your software team had certified the installation." "My software team has never been inside this building." I suspected that when he referred to them as the girls upstairs. Maren closes her eyes. What else did he change? Eli does not answer immediately. He opens the accordion folder and removes 3 field tickets. Each has a date, an equipment number, labor entries, and a box labeled Instructions Received From. Graham's name appears twice. The 3rd ticket says G. Voss via text. "Thursday, he told us to energize every portal," Eli says. "We were scheduled to do lanes 1 through 4 under load. He wanted all 12 lit for the executive tour. I refused that. I know, your email is attached." "Then why did you do it?" "Because at 4:12 Friday, your vice president told me he had assumed commissioning authority and would treat refusal as contractor default." Eli taps the paper. "I called you. Your permissions were gone, and your voicemail was full." Maren checks her phone. No missed call from Eli. Then she remembers the security update Graham's assistant insisted everyone install Friday morning. A streamlined communication profile that rerouted vendor calls through the office switchboard. Resistance noticed. Route around the person resisting. It is such a Graham solution that she almost admires it. Almost. Her phone vibrates. Mom appears on the screen, followed by a photograph of 2 wine glasses and a cardboard box labeled Kitchen Fragile. Tonight is supposed to be the first dinner in her mother's new apartment. Maren has the folding table in the back of her car because the movers misplaced the dining set hardware. She types, "Plant emergency. I'm sorry, I'll call when I know more." 3 dots appear, disappear, then return. "Do you still have the table?" Maren looks toward the parking lot. "Yes," she says aloud. Eli waits. "My mother is taking emotional hostages." She sounds efficient. "She raised me." The reply arrives. "Bring it whenever. I have a counter and excellent knees." Maren smiles despite herself. Her mother's knees are terrible. The lie is an offering. You can disappoint me without destroying me. Maren pockets the phone. Let's isolate one lane. Original software rules, temporary shielded run, dry batch, and damp batch. If it reads both, we know where to start. And if it doesn't, we find a taller building and throw Graham's dashboard off it. Eli turns to Rosa. "She always this cheerful?" "Only when working for free." That lands differently. Eli looks at Maren. "He told the floor," she says, "so everyone would understand my motivational package." Eli rubs a thumb over his bottom lip. "My crew is at emergency rate, as they should be." North Star approved it? Graham ordered the rescue. That wasn't my question. No, it wasn't. They hold each other's gaze for a second. Eli has owned his company long enough to recognize the gap between an instruction and a payable instruction. He lifts one of the field tickets. Then we document as we go. By 9, they have lane 1 electrically isolated. Priya Shah, Eli's control specialist, runs temporary shielded cable overhead while standing on a lift that squeaks every time she shifts her weight. "This lift is narrating my death," she calls down. "It narrates everybody's," Rosa says. "Don't make it feel special." Maren loads a cart with sample garments at 3 moisture levels. Dry from finishing, slightly damp from the tunnel, wet enough to mimic a bad extraction cycle. She tapes handwritten account numbers over the tags so the operators can judge the result without trusting the screen. The first dry batch passes. 7 uniforms route correctly, 2 fail to register, and 1 chef's coat for Vincenzo's sales into the bin, assigned to Lakeshore Cardiology. "Dead restaurant goes to cardiology," Rosa says. That feels philosophical. Maren circles the failure in red. The damp batch is worse. 4 tags disappear entirely when the cart rolls beside a stainless steel rack. The reader's signal pattern blooms on the diagnostic screen, then folds inward. "There," Maren says. Priya leans over the laptop. "Reflection off the cart?" "Cart plus unshielded cable noise. Move the rack 6 feet. They repeat the batch. 2 missing tags instead of 4. Eli studies the cabinet. So the cable explains part of it. Part. And the rest? Maren enlarges the event log. At 4:38 Friday afternoon, someone changed the duplicate red suppression window from 9 seconds to 60. That makes the dashboard look cleaner during a controlled demonstration because repeated signals vanish. Under actual production speed, it also makes separate garments with similar tag sequences disappear. The user field reads admin-GV. Rosa sees it over her shoulder. Is GV who I think it is? "Could be Gloria Vanderbilt," Maren says. "Does she work here?" "Not recently." Maren takes a screenshot, exports the event log, and saves both to the project archive. Her access holds for 7 seconds. Then the screen refreshes. Permission denied. She tries again. Account role updated by administrator. Graham has removed her archive rights from the highway between North Star and Milwaukee. Eli watches her face. "He can do that remotely." "He just did." "What did you save?" "1 log." "What did you lose?" "The place where I'm allowed to prove it." At 10:04, Graham texts her for the first time. "Status." She photographs lane 1's test sheet, the red circles stark against the laminate. 1 lane isolated. Cable interference confirmed. Suppression setting changed Friday under your admin credentials. I need archive access restored and written authorization for emergency labor. His reply comes less than a minute later. Focus on solutions, not blame. Client update at noon. Need positive trajectory. Maren types, did you change the suppression window? The 3 dots do not appear. At 11:30, they get lane 1 through 20, consecutive correct sorts. The floor crew cheers in the small, practical way tired people do. 2 raised fists, 1 whistle, Rosa knocking her knuckles against a cart. Maren draws a diagonal red slash beside the lane number. A real pass. Then the North Wash Tunnel disgorges another 1,000 pounds of uniforms into the holding area. The Victory shrinks to the size of the pencil in her hand. Her phone rings. Graham this time, calling from his car. She answers on speaker so Eli can hear. "Tell me you're ready for Caroline," Graham says. 1 lane is stable, 11 are offline. "Can we describe that as phased restoration? We can describe it as 1 lane. Maren, clients need confidence. They also need shirts." A turn signal clicks behind his voice. "I'm going to tell her we identified a minor configuration conflict and my team is executing the recovery plan." "Your team? Would you prefer I tell her my implementation manager lost control of commissioning?" Eli's expression hardens. Maren rolls the red pencil between her fingers. "Restore my archive access. Get 6 lanes live by dinner. Authorize the labor." 6 lanes, Maren. The call ends. For several seconds, the sorting floor seems too large. Maren can see every person pretending not to have heard. Then Eli pulls a fresh field ticket from his folder. He writes the time, Graham's name, and 6 words in the instruction box. 6 lanes live by dinner. Proceed. He presses hard enough to mark all 3 copies. "You got shielded cable?" Maren asks. "Enough for 4 lanes. Then we build 4 honest ones and 2 temporary bypasses with hourly heat checks." Eli tears off the pink copy and holds it out. Maren looks at it. "Customer record," he says. She takes the paper, folds it once, and slides it behind the laminated checklist. The red pencil leaves a faint streak across Graham's instruction. The temporary bypasses look ugly enough to make Maren trust them. Priya routes the cable outside the cabinet in loose loops, keeping it away from the power conduit. Dave bolts 2 portable fans to a rail and aims them at the reader amplifiers. Rosa finds a roll of orange floor tape and marks a rectangle around the whole arrangement. "Is the tape structural?" Eli asks. "It's management," Rosa says. "It makes danger look intentional." By 1:30, lane 2 is reading cleanly. Lane 3 fails whenever the steam valve opens behind the sorting wall. They wait for the pipe to cool, wrap the closest cable run in borrowed shielding, and try again. At 2, Graham sends a photograph from the awards hotel. He is standing beneath a chandelier beside 3 executives Maren recognizes from trade magazines. His tie is on now. Need dashboard screenshot for client update. Maren sends him the diagnostic display with 3 green lanes and 9 red ones. He replies with a cropped version that shows only the green. "Can we turn off visible alerts on remaining lanes?" "No, not even temporarily." "No." She waits for an argument. None comes. 5 minutes later, all 9 red tiles turn gray, and their labels change from fault to scheduled maintenance. Priya stares at the screen. "Did you do that?" "I can't even archive a log." "Does it affect the controls?" "No, just what people see." Rosa looks from the gray tiles to the conveyor piled with wet linen. "Nice. Maybe he can rename my car a yacht." Maren takes pictures of the dashboard before and after the change. Her project folder on the company drive is still locked, so she emails the files to herself and copies Eli. The messages leave her outbox, but she cannot tell whether Northstar's filter will hold them. "Use mine," Eli says. He hands her his phone. The case is cracked at 2 corners and smells faintly of machine oil. She sends the images to his business address, along with the 1 event log she saved. "You don't have to store my employment dispute," she says. "I'm storing project records. Those can turn into the same thing." They often do. At 3:15, the client's route manager, Tasha Green, appears on the floor wearing leggings, work boots, and a Northstar visitor vest over a sweatshirt. Maren knows her from planning calls as a small square on a screen, usually speaking only after Caroline Bex has asked everyone else. Tasha surveys the stopped lanes. Graham said this was scheduled maintenance. Rosa raises one eyebrow so high it almost disappears under her hairnet. Maren steps between them. "Who asked you to come in?" "My drivers." Monday manifests aren't populating, and nobody was answering the operations line. Tasha points toward the dashboard. "Why are 9 lanes offline?" "We're correcting signal interference and restoring the original sorting rules." "Was it working Friday?" "During the tour?" It displayed. "That is not what I asked." "No," Maren says. "It wasn't working under production load." Tasha looks at the racks of unsorted uniforms. "How far behind?" "About 7,000 pounds, with more coming out of finishing." Graham told Caroline we'd caught up by noon. Eli sets down his wire stripper. Maren could give Tasha the whole history: Graham's cable substitution, the suppressed duplicate reads, the permissions. Every piece is sitting in her mouth, sharp and ready. Instead, she says, "We have 3 stable lanes. I expect 6 by dinner if the temporary runs hold. Monday's hospital routes can leave on time. Restaurants will be tight." Tasha studies her. "That was very carefully said." "It's a careful plant." "What do you need from me?" Maren glances toward the resort shirts, kitchen coats, clinic scrubs, and maintenance uniforms mixed in the holding area. "Your true route priorities, not the ones sales marked in the demonstration file." Tasha pulls a folded paper manifest from her vest pocket. "I brought them." The sales file puts the largest contracts first because their numbers look good on a launch report. Tasha's handwritten list starts with the accounts that have the fewest reserve garments on site. A small dialysis supplier jumps above a luxury hotel. 3 restaurant routes move to Sunday afternoon. Maren takes her red pencil and marks the changes on the laminated lane chart. Tasha watches. "My grandfather used those pencils in his cabinet shop. My father repaired boilers. Did he also carry one down to the metal nub?" He said throwing away usable material was how salespeople became executives. Tasha smiles for the first time. "I would have liked him." He was exhausting. Usually the price. They reroute the restored lanes according to Tasha's list. By 4, operators are feeding garments by account instead of by arrival time. The backlog begins to look less like a flood and more like separate problems. At 4:40, lane 3 faults again. Maren hears the change before the screen catches it. The reader gate emits 2 quick chirps instead of 1. A batch of pale blue uniforms passes straight through without diverting. "Stop feed." Rosa hits the button. Priya checks the temporary shield. "Cable's clean." Maren pulls a garment from the cart and scans the tag by hand. Nothing. She tries another, then a third. "Dead tags?" Priya asks. "Maybe." They open a sealed carton of replacement RFID tags from the storeroom. The label carries Northstar's approved supplier number, but the manufacturer's code is unfamiliar. Eli turns the carton over. A second shipping label has been pasted beneath the first. "These weren't in my material schedule," he says. Maren searches the purchasing application. Her access to that still works. The original tag order was canceled 8 days ago. A rush order for a cheaper model replaced it under Graham's spending authority. She presses one of the new tags against the scanner. It reads at 6 inches. The specified tags read at 3 feet. "Near field tags," Priya says. "Fine for inventory tables, useless at conveyor speed." "How many did they install?" Tasha asks. Maren checks the receiving quantity. 18,000. Tasha closes her eyes. "How many are already on garments?" Rosa answers. "Enough to ruin my weekend. The tags are sewn into heat-sealed patches at the hems. Replacing them means locating affected inventory, splitting the patch, inserting a correct tag, resealing it, and retesting the garment. The work cannot be solved on a dashboard." Maren calls Graham. He answers on the 4th ring, with music and silverware behind him. "Tell me you have 6. "I found 18,000 low-range tags purchased under your approval." A pause. "They met the specification." They met a table read specification, not portal range. Procurement said they were equivalent. Send me that. I'm at a dinner. So are the tags. They're going around the conveyor again. His voice drops. What is the impact? Every installed substitute has to be identified and replaced. Then identify the weak batches and prioritize. We need serial number records from the vendor. Ask procurement. They won't answer until Monday. Then use your judgment. My judgment was on the canceled order. Another pause, longer this time. How many lanes? 3 stable, 1 intermittent. The tag failure cost us 2 hours. You committed to 6 by dinner. You ordered 6. Maren, Caroline is expecting a progress call in 20 minutes. I cannot tell her we went backward. Tell her why. I'm not giving a client a purchasing post-mortem before we understand the facts. We understand that the tags don't read. What I understand is that my implementation manager has encountered normal rollout problems and is documenting blame instead of maintaining pace. Maren looks at Eli. He already has a field ticket on the cabinet, pen poised. Are you instructing us to continue installing the substitute tags? She asks. No, of course not. Are you authorizing rush replacement tags and the labor to install them? I'm authorizing you to get the rollout live. That isn't specific enough. His patience breaks cleanly. I'm instructing you to solve the tag issue, recover 6 operational lanes tonight, and keep the client's Monday routes intact. Record whatever you need to record. Eli writes as Graham speaks. Maren says, thank you. For what? The instruction. She ends the call. Tasha is watching Eli's pen. Does everything go on those? Emergency work does, he says. Good. Eli starts calling suppliers. The first 2 have no weekend stock. A distributor outside Madison has 6,000 compatible tags, but will release them only for pickup, prepaid, by 6:30. North Star's purchasing card declines. Maren tries Graham, straight to voicemail. Eli can cover the purchase, but he says it plainly. Markup and emergency procurement fee. You should charge both. I'm not asking permission, I'm making sure North Star hears the words. North Star heard them. He looks toward Tasha. So did the client, she says. Dave takes Eli's van to Madison. Rosa recruits 8 off-shift operators willing to return at overtime rate and turns a folding table near the loading dock into a tag replacement station. They use seam knives, heat sealers, handheld scanners, and paper cups of vending machine coffee. Maren retrieves the folding table from her car. It is a cheap 6-foot rectangle with 1 dented corner. Her mother taped a note to the underside that morning. Don't let them keep this one too. Maren sees it while locking the legs. Rosa reads it over her shoulder. Your mother? Yes. I like her. You haven't met her. I've met the sentence. They cover the table in brown craft paper and arrange the tools. The first tagged uniforms arrive in plastic bins. Tasha stays to help match serial ranges to customer batches. At 7, Graham sends a message. Great progress. Caroline pleased with decisive recovery plan. Keep pushing. Maren shows it to Tasha. Tasha's mouth twists. Caroline hasn't spoken to him since noon. She's at a charity auction with her phone off. He lies when the truth is inconvenient. He lies when the truth is between appointments. The replacement crew settles into a rhythm. Slice, remove, scan, insert, seal, test. Rosa keeps count with red hash marks on the craft paper. Every 100 tags, she draws a tiny crown. For morale, she explains. Why a crown? I can't draw a washing machine. By midnight, 6 lanes are operating. 4 are properly rewired. 2 run on temporary bypasses with heat readings logged every hour. 3,000 replacement tags sit in sorted bins, and another 3,000 are being sewn into garments. Maren photographs the 6 green lanes, including the 9-page fault list underneath. She refuses to crop it. Graham responds with a thumbs up. At 12:24, her mother sends a photograph of 2 takeout containers balanced on the apartment counter. One is unopened. Maren steps outside to call. The night air feels cool enough to drink. "You should have eaten," she says when her mother answers. "I did." There are 2 containers. One is breakfast. You hate cold Thai food. I've developed resilience. Maren sits on the curb beside Eli's van. "I'm sorry about the table. I'm more interested in the person attached to it. The person is greasy and smells like a towel. So employed. For the moment." Her mother is quiet. Through the phone, Maren hears a cupboard door close. "Did he do what the other one did?" she asks. Maren looks through the dock opening at the commissioning board. Graham's name is visible even from outside. Not exactly. That answer means yes in a blazer. It's complicated. No, it's familiar. Familiar is what makes it feel complicated. Maren rubs the red pencil stain on the side of her hand. "I can't leave 7,000 pounds of laundry on a floor because Graham is a bastard." "I didn't ask you to leave the laundry." "What are you asking?" "Whether you plan to leave yourself there with it." Inside, a conveyor starts. The motor rises into a steady mechanical hum. "I have to go," Maren says. "I know. Bring my table back with all 4 legs." Maren returns to the floor before her mother can hear how close she came to crying. At 3 a.m, Priya catches lane 6 overheating before the sensor alarm trips. The temporary cable has sagged toward a steam line. They shut it down, replace the supports, and log the lost 43 minutes. At dawn, Tasha leaves to brief Caroline in person. "Do you want me to tell her you saved it?" she asks Maren. "Tell her what works and what doesn't." "That wasn't my question." "I know." Tasha tucks the handwritten route priorities into her vest. "You're making it very hard to help you." "I'm trying not to turn you into ammunition. Graham already did that. He just aimed me the other way." Sunday becomes a string of smaller emergencies. A warped cart jams lane 4. Condensation trips a sensor on lane 2. Dave discovers 2 cable trays grounded at both ends, creating the loop Maren warned about in her original design review. Each repair earns a red slash. Each instruction goes on to Eli's field tickets. Graham does not return to the plant. He asks for screenshots every 3 hours and sends back edited status language. Controlled restoration, isolated supplier defect, final optimization. When Maren refuses to approve it, he puts his own initials beneath hers. By 9 Sunday night, 11 lanes are live. Maren keeps lane 12 offline because its cabinet emits a burnt plastic smell under full load. "We can run it at half speed," Priya says. "For how long?" "Maybe through Monday." "And after?" Priya shrugs. Maren circles 12 in red and writes "hold" beside it. At 4:42 Monday morning, the first hospital route rolls away on time. Drivers carry hot coffee and corrected manifests. The restaurant trucks leave 38 minutes late, but every scanned garment is assigned to the right account. Maren stands beneath lane 1 as the last chef's coat drops into its proper bin. Vincenzo's again, a uniform for a dead restaurant correctly sorted at last. Eli closes his accordion folder. It has grown thick enough that the elastic band strains around it. "Go wash your face," he tells her. "The executives are coming." At 7:15, Graham enters the plant with Caroline Becks and 2 North Star vice presidents. He is rested, shaved, and carrying a tray of expensive coffee. He stops beside the commissioning board. Maren's name is still gone. His remains above Monday, "Go Live." Graham looks at the 11 green lanes, then at Caroline. "As promised," he says, "we rebuilt the rollout over the weekend." He hands Caroline a coffee and walks her onto the floor as if he has been there the whole time. Caroline steps around the orange tape surrounding the temporary bypass. "What is that?" Graham glances at it as though it has appeared since he entered. "A short-term redundancy while we optimize the permanent runs." "It's lane 5, Maren says. The specified shielded cable was replaced before installation. We used a temporary run to keep today's routes moving." Graham hands her one of the coffees. Maren led execution of the revised recovery plan. The cup is labeled Caramel Oat. She drinks plain coffee. "How many lanes passed full load commissioning?" Caroline asks. 11 are operating, Graham says. That's another answer to a different question. Tasha has been talking to her. Maren sets the coffee on an empty cart. 4 passed full load commissioning with permanent cable. 5 passed after correction but still need extended heat and moisture testing. 2 are temporary. Lane 12 is locked out pending replacement of a damaged amplifier. Caroline looks at the green dashboard, then up at Lane 12's dark indicator. Graham's report says full service was restored. Graham gives a patient nod. Operationally, it was. Maren is using the engineering definition. I'm using the definition in the acceptance schedule, Maren says. One of the North Star vice presidents, Leonard Shaw, rubs the side of his nose. He oversees finance and has never visited this plant before. His new safety vest still has fold lines. Are Monday routes leaving? He asks. They left, Rosa says. Some of us waved. Graham smiles at her. That's the result the client needed. Rosa's face goes blank in the way that usually precedes an incident report. Maren speaks before she can. The hospital routes left on time. Restaurant routes left 38 minutes late. Tasha reprioritized the queue based on reserve inventory. Caroline turns to Tasha. You did? With Maren and the floor team. Graham adjusts his cuff. Exactly. Cross-functional leadership. He is not clumsy about taking credit. He does not snatch it in one obvious motion. He stretches it until everyone's work fits beneath his language, then stands at the center and calls the arrangement teamwork. At Lane 1, he demonstrates the dashboard for Caroline. A cart of uniforms rolls through the portal. The screen populates with account numbers, garment types, and route assignments. This is the recovery architecture I put in place Saturday morning, he says. Isolate, validate, scale. Maren feels Rosa looking at her. She takes the red grease pencil from her pocket and checks the scanner count against the paper tally. All 12 garments register. 11 route correctly. The 12th is a Lakeshore Cardiology scrub top diverted into the hotel bin. Maren reaches for the stop button. Graham catches her wrist. Not hard. Barely hard enough to call it restraint. Precisely hard enough for the operators nearby to see. It's a demo batch, he says under his breath. It's a live route. Correct it downstream. The scrub top disappears around the bend. Maren looks at his hand until he releases her. Then she walks to the hotel bin, removes the garment, scans it with the handheld reader, and places it in the correct cart. Caroline follows. What caused that? The duplicate read suppression rule is still too wide on this lane. I thought that setting was restored. So did I. At the laptop, Maren checks the event log. The suppression window changed at 6:58 that morning, 17 minutes before Graham arrived. Admin-GV. He anticipated a visible demo and smoothed the alerts again. Graham sees the screen. That's a global profile. It may have inherited the setting when I loaded the presentation view. You changed live sorting to improve the display. I applied a known, stable configuration. It just sent cardiology to a hotel. Leonard steps closer. Can we have this conversation somewhere that isn't the production floor? Graham's expression settles. Good idea. That wasn't a request, Leonard says. They gather in the plant manager's glass-walled office. Rosa remains outside with the operators. Eli leans against the sorting cabinet, accordion folder tucked beneath one arm. Caroline does not sit. I need a written list of every temporary measure, every outstanding defect, and every expense generated this weekend, she says. My team will not sign acceptance today. Graham folds his hands on the conference table. That's your right. I do want to separate operational performance from a few commissioning formalities. Your routes are moving. Because people worked all weekend. That is what implementation teams do during a launch. Maren watches him choose each word. He will admit effort, not cause. Sacrifice, not instruction. Caroline turns to her. Were North Star employees paid emergency hours? Graham answers. Our management staff are salaried. Maren, I was told to work unpaid because the failure was my mess. The room becomes very still. Graham gives a quiet sigh, almost wounded. That was a tense exchange at 6 in the morning, not a compensation decision. You said it in front of the floor, Maren says. I said we would sort out compensation afterward. You said that after I asked you to put the unpaid order in writing. Leonard looks at Graham. Did you? Of course not. The answer is technically about the writing. He delivers it as though it is about the order. Caroline collects her tablet. Send the defect list and complete cost package to Tasha. We will review both before acceptance. Graham walks her to the door, talking softly about partnership and transparency. He is good at it. By the loading dock, he has Caroline listening instead of speaking. Maren can almost see the repair occurring. Not forgiveness, but enough restored confidence to prevent an immediate break. Leonard remains in the office. How long have you been awake? He asks Maren. I slept Thursday. That wasn't humor, was it? It had ambitions. He looks through the glass at the running conveyors. Go home. We'll debrief tomorrow. Lane 12. Will still be broken after you sleep. Who has authority over live settings? Leonard looks toward the dock where Graham is shaking Caroline's hand. I'll have IT restrict production changes to on-site approval. Put that in writing. A corner of his mouth moves. I see the weekend has produced a theme. Maren retrieves her folding table. The craft paper is covered with red hash marks and tiny crowns. Rosa helps peel off the tape. You kept him alive, Rosa says. It was close. I meant the rollout. Oh, Rosa folds one pair of legs. You going to HR? I'm going to shower. Then HR. I don't know. That's a very long shower. Eli carries the table to Maren's car. Before shutting the trunk, he sets the accordion folder beside it and removes the pink copies from the weekend. You need these? He asks. They're customer records. You were the customer representative on site. Graham will dispute that. Graham can dispute whether if the forecast bruises him. He hands her the stack. The top ticket contains his Saturday order. 6 lanes live by dinner. Below it are rush procurement, replacement tags, emergency rewiring, heat monitoring, repeated calibration, and Sunday production support. Every page names the person who issued the instruction. Maren does not take them. If I drive away with those, he'll say we coordinated a case against him. If I keep them, he'll say I'm holding billing records hostage. Send them through the contract process. That takes the detailed tickets to North Star accounts payable first. Then do that. Eli studies her. You still think the system around him is going to behave better than he does. I think if we skip the system, he gets to make that the story. He puts the pink copies back into his folder. Your red pencil, he says. She looks down. It is still in her hand. At her mother's apartment, the takeout containers are gone from the counter. 2 plates sit in the drying rack, proof that one person refused to make her disappointment look lonely. Maren carries in the folding table. Her mother emerges from the bedroom wearing a robe and 1 earring. You smell industrial. Thank you. It wasn't admiration. Together, they open the table in the dining area. Maren sees the note taped beneath the dented corner. Don't let them keep this one, too. Her mother reaches to remove it. Leave it, Maren says. You saw that? Rosa saw it. Who's Rosa? Someone who now likes you. Good. My campaign is working. Maren sleeps 11 hours and wakes to 17 emails. Her certification exam began at 9. The rescheduling window closed the previous afternoon, costing her the $600 fee and the earliest chance to qualify for a higher pay band. Graham's email sits at the top of her inbox. Subject: After Action Alignment. The attached report describes an implementation planning gap under MAREN'S control, followed by Graham's executive intervention and successful deployment of a phased recovery strategy. It mentions neither the substituted cable nor the tag order. A signature box waits beneath her name. At 10, Graham calls her into his office. Unlike the plant, his office is quiet, carpeted, and free of objects that have practical uses. 3 awards stand on a floating shelf. The newest empty spot is waiting for the one he collected Saturday night. He motions toward the chair. Maren remains standing. You look better, he says. You look the same. I'll take that as a compliment. Don't. He turns the after-action report toward her. Leonard needs this before the merger call. It isn't accurate. It's preliminary. The cable substitution is missing. Procurement is still reviewing equivalency. You approved it. Based on their recommendation. Where is the recommendation? His fingers rest on the paper. This is the problem, Maren. You treat every conversation like cross-examination. Leadership requires judgment under uncertainty. So does engineering. We write the uncertainty down. I protected the quarter. I protected jobs. You protected the dashboard. His eyes sharpen. Do you know what the buyer plans to consolidate if our revenue slips? Dispatch, billing, field service. They're not coming for my office first. There it is, the credible center beneath all the varnish. Graham is afraid, and some of what he fears is real. You could have told us, she says, and had 300 people behaving like they were interviewing elsewhere? Confidence is operational. So is cable. He leans back. I'm offering you Director of Implementation Assurance, 12% raise. You'd build the controls you keep saying we need in exchange for my signature, in recognition of your recovery. Then correct the report. He slides a pen across the desk. Sign it as preliminary. We'll refine language after client acceptance. Maren thinks of her exam fee, her mother's apartment, the mortgage payment scheduled for Friday. 12% is not abstract. She uncaps the pen. Graham relaxes too soon. Maren draws a line through her signature box and writes, Declined material emissions. She dates it. His face loses every trace of warmth. You should take the rest of the week, he says. Am I being suspended? I'm suggesting recovery time. Paid? He looks at the marked report. We'll have HR clarify. By noon, her system access is restricted to email. At 3, HR sends a formal performance improvement plan citing poor escalation discipline, adversarial vendor management, and failure to maintain client confidence. At 4, Eli calls, Accounts payable rejected my weekend package. Reason, insufficient executive authorization. You have Graham's instructions on every ticket. They said the instructions establish scope, not price approval. Maren opens Northstar's Master Services Agreement from her local records. Section 14 covers emergency work. The first paragraph gives Northstar 48 hours to dispute scope. The second requires unsupported charges to remain internal. The third requires all client pass-through rescue costs to be reviewed with the client's operations director when they affect acceptance. Tasha has to receive the package, Maren says. Northstar told me not to contact the client. Send it to accounts payable again, copy me. State that rejection triggers Section 14, Paragraph 3. You still have access? To email. For now. His revised submission arrives 9 minutes later. The attachment is 112 pages. Northstar's reply comes at 4:23. Do not distribute pending internal review. Maren reads it twice, then opens a new message. She addresses it to Leonard, HR, accounts payable, and Graham. She attaches the contract page, the rejected invoice notice, and her Saturday photograph of the dashboard before the faults were hidden. Pursuant to Section 14.3, the Client Operations Director is required to review documented pass-through rescue costs affecting acceptance. Please confirm transmission of the complete invoice package to Tasha Green. Her cursor waits over send. Graham appears at the opening of her cubicle. If you send that, he says, you make this bigger than either of us can control. Maren looks at the empty space on her desk where the laminated checklist should be. She left it clipped to lane 1, with the first pink field ticket folded behind it. It was already bigger, she says. Then she sends the message. Graham stares at the screen as the sent message leaves Maren's outbox. You think Leonard is going to reward this? I asked him to follow a contract. You copied HR. They're already involved. You're angry. I'm tired. That's what angry people say when they want anger to sound objective. Maren turns her chair toward him. You put me on a performance plan 4 hours after I refused to sign a false report. I put you on a corrective process after months of combative behavior. Name 1 month. His mouth tightens. Name 1 incident before Saturday. This is exactly the tone I mean. Her email chimes. Leonard has replied to everyone. Transmit the complete package to Ms. Green by 9 a.m. tomorrow. Preserve all supporting records. No revisions without contractor acknowledgement. Graham reads it over her shoulder. The office noise continues around them. Keyboards, a copier, someone laughing near the kitchen. Maren watches him absorb the words without moving. He has never needed to shout to dominate a room. Now, for once, volume would not help him. This will cost Northstar the account, he says. The weekend already cost Northstar the account. This might tell us whether we can keep it. He bends closer. If the buyer sees a $180,000 rescue invoice attached to a failed rollout, the merger changes. People lose positions. You'll get your clean record and leave everybody else holding the bill. You ordered the work. I ordered recovery. Work is what recovery costs. For a second, he looks older. The smooth executive focus drops, and she sees the man who has spent 6 months making promises faster than operations can support them. I needed 1 clean quarter, he says. You had one. It just wasn't real. Graham straightens. Go home. Effective immediately. You're on paid administrative leave pending review. Put that in writing. His laugh is soft and humorless. There's your legacy. No, it's yours. Her access dies before she reaches the elevator. Email disappears first, then the project portal, then the company directory. Her phone connects to the parking lot network and immediately forgets it. She drives to the plant instead of home. Rosa is standing beside lane 7 with a clipboard when Maren enters. You're either dedicated or fired, she says. Administrative leave. Fancy fired. Paid fancy fired. Congratulations. Maren walks to lane 1. The laminated checklist hangs from the cabinet where she left it. Red circles and slashes cover the surface. The first pink field ticket remains folded behind it, marked by the faint red streak from her pencil. She removes the checklist. Taking evidence? Rosa asks. Taking my pencil. The grease pencil is clipped through a hole at the top. Maren slides it free and returns the checklist to the cabinet. Rosa points at the folded pink paper. That yours? Customer record. Then why is it living behind my lane? Because I forgot it. Terrible escalation discipline. Maren smiles. Apparently. She takes the ticket too. At 8:50 the next morning, Tasha receives Navarro Industrial's invoice package from Northstar Accounts Payable. She calls Maren at 9:12. I'm looking at 112 pages. Eli believes in detail. Eli billed $13 for orange tape. Rosa said it was structural. There's a $42,000 line for emergency electrical labor. 3 people, 2 nights, 1 day overtime rates. $28,000 for rush RFID tags, transport, and resealing support. The approved tags had been canceled. I see that. Paper moves near Tasha's phone. Every labor block has an instruction beside it. That's Eli's standard ticket. Saturday, 12:02 p.m., proceed with recovery. 6 lanes, live by dinner. Graham Voss. Saturday, 5:11 p.m., resolve tag issue, retain Monday routes. Graham Voss. Sunday, 8:40 a.m. Continue full emergency coverage until production backlog cleared. Graham Voss. Maren sits at her mother's folding table. One leg rocks because the apartment floor is uneven. He gave those instructions. I'm not asking. Then what are you asking? Why his after-action report says you expanded contractor scope without executive approval? Maren looks at the red pencil beside her hand. Because he expected the scope and the invoice to stay in different rooms. Tasha is quiet, then she says, Caroline wants you in the review at 2. I'm on leave. She invited you as the implementation manager named in our contract. Northstar may object. Northstar already did. And Caroline has developed resilience. The meeting is held over video. Maren joins from her mother's apartment because Northstar has disabled her building access. Behind her, a cardboard box still reads, Kitchen, Fragile. She tries blurring the background, but the old laptop struggles and turns half her hair into fog. Her mother sets a mug of plain coffee beside her. Is this the one? She whispers. Yes. His face is smaller than I expected. He can hear you. Good. Maren mutes herself until her mother leaves. Caroline sits at the North Star conference table with Tasha. Graham, Leonard, HR Director Denise Cole, and North Star's operations president occupy the other side. Eli appears from his office beneath a framed electrical license and a calendar from a forklift dealer. Caroline opens the invoice on the conference room display. The total fills the top right corner. $186,700. $186,740.00. Graham begins before she asks a question. Navarro's package combines legitimate commissioning labor with disputed premiums and corrective work that remains under warranty. We've prepared a normalized summary. Was the summary acknowledged by Navarro? Leonard asks. Eli shakes his head. First time I've heard the phrase. Caroline scrolls past the total to the field tickets. Mr. Navarro, explain how you record emergency labor. Crew clocks in by asset and task. The foreman records who requested the work and what they requested. Customer representative signs when available. If there's no signature, we attach the instruction, email, text, or contemporaneous note. Why so much detail? I once spent 6 months trying to collect on a warehouse job where every emergency became imaginary after the lights came back on. She opens Saturday's first ticket. Graham's order sits beside each crew member's hours. Were these entries created after the dispute? No. Carbon copies were produced on site as we wrote them. Pink copies went to the customer record. I have the yellow originals from my crew. Maren holds up the pink copy she removed from lane 1. The first one was behind the commissioning checklist all weekend. Graham leans toward the microphone. And you took it while on administrative leave? I took the customer copy I was given as on-site project representative. You were instructed to preserve records. I preserved it. Leonard holds out his hand toward the camera by habit, then realizes Maren is 30 miles away. Send a photograph to Denise, he says. Maren photographs both sides with her phone and emails them. The worn laminate pattern from the checklist has pressed faint horizontal lines into the ticket. The red pencil streak crosses Graham's instruction without obscuring it. Caroline moves through the charges slowly. Rush-shielded cable, temporary bypass material, amplifier replacement, emergency freight, tag removal and resealing, heat monitoring, production support. Every large number opens into dates, asset numbers, worker names, and instructions. Graham challenges some effectively. He identifies duplicate travel time on one crew sheet and a warranty-eligible amplifier charge. Eli agrees to reduce the invoice by $4,860 pending inspection. Graham knows contracts. He knows how vendors pad uncertainty into emergency pricing, and for 20 minutes he looks like himself again, sharp, controlled, useful. Then Tasha opens the canceled purchase order. The low-range tags saved North Star $11,400, she says. Graham nods. Based on procurement's equivalency review. Denise turns a page. We still haven't located that review. It may have been verbal. Your approval comment says, use alternate visual tour Friday. No time for more testing. The $11,000 saving sits beside $28,000 in replacement costs and nearly $16,000 in labor attributed to finding and resealing garments. Caroline opens the cable order. The shielded material would have added $9,000 and delayed installation by 1 day. Its substitution generated more than $60,000 in emergency wiring and overtime. She leans back. So the invoice is not merely the price of the weekend, she says. It is a list of decisions that purchase the weekend. Graham's face stays composed. Our responsibility is the outcome. We restored service. Maren restored service after warning North Star about the conditions that caused the failure. I led the response. Caroline looks at him. From Milwaukee? His eyes move briefly toward Maren's square on the screen. I maintained executive coordination while the technical team executed. Tasha shares the 2 dashboard screenshots, red faults, then gray scheduled maintenance tiles. Was changing the labels part of executive coordination? Caroline asks. It was presentation hygiene. The alerts remained visible to the technical team. Maren speaks for the first time in several minutes. My archive access was removed after I saved the event log, because you were exporting internal records to a vendor. I copied the contractor responsible for repairing the affected equipment. You were building a case. I was building a timeline. You always need to be right. No. Maren touches the red pencil lying beside her laptop. I needed the lanes to be right. You kept changing what right looked like on the screen. The words leave the room quieter than she expected. Caroline closes the invoice. North Star may dispute Navarro's rates. Harbor Light will not approve these charges as client pass-through. We will also hold acceptance until the permanent cable is installed. Lane 12 passes full load testing, and an independent North Star manager certifies the live rules. The operations president nods once. Caroline continues. Renewal discussions pause until we receive service credits for the delayed routes and written confirmation that Graham has no authority to alter our production settings or approve implementation substitutions. Graham turns toward Leonard. You understand what she's asking? Yes, Leonard says. My role covers the account. It won't cover implementation anymore. The sentence is delivered without ceremony. Leonard writes something on a legal pad. The meeting moves into amounts, dates, and corrective work. The real cost grows beyond the invoice. Client credits, permanent rework, postponed acceptance, internal review time. North Star remains standing. Routes continue. The merger does not disappear, but Graham's quarter no longer presents itself as clean. Maren's square stays on the screen until Caroline says, For the record, we want Miss Holt leading technical acceptance. Denise replies, her employment status is under review. So is our renewal. 3 weeks later, Denise meets Maren in the same quiet conference room where Graham presented the false report. The investigation has removed the performance plan from her file. North Star pays her weekend hours at an emergency premium, reimburses the missed certification exam, and offers a retention payment large enough to cover several months of her mother's apartment. The director promotion is offered again. Maren reads the revised job description. It still reports to Graham. Commercially, Denise says, you'd have written technical authority until confidence needs hygiene. Denise folds her hands. What do you want? Maren negotiates a narrower implementation assurance role reporting to operations, authority to stop commissioning, and written client visibility for unresolved defects. She accepts it for 6 months, long enough to finish Harbor Light's permanent corrections and sit for her certification. Graham keeps his sales title. His bonus is frozen, his merger role reduced, and every implementation promise he makes now requires an operations signature. When he sees Maren at the plant, he is courteous in the exact way people become courteous when courtesy has acquired witnesses. 6 months later, Maren gives notice. Eli's offer is less money at first. Director of Industrial Systems, profit participation tied to completed projects, and a path to ownership he has written in language she can measure. She accepts. On her first rollout with Navarro Industrial, Dawn comes through the loading doors while the final live load batch moves beneath a reader portal. Dry garments, damp garments, stainless steel cart beside the lane. Every tag appears on the screen and diverts through the correct door. Eli waits with the field ticket. Maren draws one red slash beside the last asset number. She sets the worn grease pencil on the signed paper. Behind her, her mother's folding table holds coffee, tools, and 4 steady legs.